And that was the first thing that got my attention when I saw the grand jury comes up with the charge.
Were you clocked in?
I didn't clock in. I was salaried.
Okay. That makes it even harder.
Very
Exactly.
convenient.
Wow.
So you could go in whenever you wanted, and
Right. And I would turn my computer on in the morning and not shut it down until I left at night, regardless if I went to lunch or wherever,
right.
running errands to the bank, whatever.
Well, it takes time for them to boot up, and you got to get all your stuff around. And if
Yeah,
you're in
just-
the middle of working on something.
Yeah, you don't, I mean, most offices, they don't shut them down unless you're leaving for the day. So, but I had no proof that I was gone at that particular time. But that is exactly what caught my eye when I saw the indictment from the grand jury, because they had to list the name of the file, the date, and the time that it was on that particular computer.
Yeah.
And that's what caught my eye. I'm like, whoa, I wasn't even there at that time. If there was a way, and I racked my brain trying to think of a way to prove that I wasn't there at that time, but there was none. So you're guilty, and if you can't prove your innocence, you're definitely guilty in this world, in this country.
So, but what happened? I mean, you said your attorney had said that they had nothing.
And I asked him, I said, what happened to this? It's not even going to be a day in jail. He says, oh, well, yeah, it's different than what I originally thought. Well, I come to find out later he was one of the best friends of the prosecuting attorney that was going to prosecute the case. And I'm sure some high officials got to him, and, it just went south from there. But the ironic thing about the whole thing, if you think about it, is they claimed I had possessed a couple of pornographic pictures. They gave me 3 to 9 years in state prison. When I actually had sexual contact years ago with a minor, I got 2 years in a county jail.
Right. It doesn't make any sense at all.
No sense at all.
What was the official? You're a sex offender now because of that? Like you already were a sex offender because of the sodomy charge or whatever?
I already was from.
So they had registered you
time.
from the
Yes.
first time. Okay.
But did that go up? I mean, did that harshen your status?
Right. Yeah.
They would label you as a repeat offender for that.
Right.
Then.
They have a system called level 1, level 2, and level 3, which is also a phony thing that's presented to the public, they have the public thinking that a level 1 sex offender is not anything to be concerned with compared to a level 3 sex offender. Okay. Now, the levels indicate somebody's determination that this individual is likely to offend again.
Mm-hmm.
That's what those levels mean. But the way the media has twisted it and the way they make things look to the public is
in movies or
a level 3 is someone that, has probably gone to a schoolyard and waited behind a tree or something for the kids to come out and grab the little kid.
I hate to laugh at it, but I mean, there's definitely a stigma there.
There is, and this is the impression that the media has put in people's minds, which is a horrible thing to do because they've got people looking in the wrong direction. But I can tell you from being through years of counseling with sex offenders, that's not how it happens. Mm-hmm. It's happening right under everyone's noses, in their families, with relatives, friends, people they know and trust.
I'm sure there might be a very small few people, a group of
rare
people
cases
out there who go out there. But, I mean, as we spoke about in our last interview with Leonard, the media harps on those little issues and re-engineers them and makes them,
right.
This is the norm and this is what they're doing. And
yes.
It shapes your thinking, really. It shapes your thoughts, and you base your opinion on what they tell you.
And if any of you know of anyone else that has been convicted or charged with a sexual crime of some sort, I can almost guarantee, without even knowing the situation, that it was involved in the family amongst family or friends.
Or friends of family.
Right.
I know somebody who I went to church with, and
Mhm.
you know, it was definitely a lot more of an innocent situation than what he's been labeled and how he's
Right.
been affected by it. And he's just lumped together with, you know, a pedophile, sex offender.
Yes.
You know, he's just been demonized. And I grew up with that guy, and I'm not saying that what he did was right exactly, but that was this is a two-way street that you walk on.
There is.
And what happens to the other person? They're just the victim. Especially if they like egg something on, you know.
Right.
But there's no way to prove that, because if it's a minor, you're done. You're toast.
That's true.
And to add a little bit of validity to what Rollyn is saying here, as we covered in our intro, you know, I myself am a victim of rape when I was 14 years old, of someone close to my family, and I have a couple other friends that were also not by the same person, but it's always a close neighbor, a close friend, a cousin, an uncle. You know, it's always someone nearby who you trust.
Right. It's very unusual to be a stranger,
Right.
Mm-hmm.
but this is the image that people have in their minds.
Yeah, and
So.
and two, not to get too much into my story, but when someone's a predator, from my other friends who I've met who are victims, it's very rare that the offender, that they will attack you and just force it upon you. They tend to trick you and to deceive you into, oh, this is normal, or we're just trying something out, and they disarm you.
Mhm.
It's not.
If it's not mutual.
Yeah, if it's not mutual. I'm saying for someone who actually is like,
Yeah.
you know, being a predator upon someone. I do have one friend who was tricked into the home, and then the man and his father, the guy who came over to his home was his neighbor. He was actually a kid that was just a few years older than him, and then he and his father raped him repeatedly, again and again, for many years. But yeah, so anyway.
Yeah, and one thing I discovered during these counseling sessions for so many years was the fact that women are just as liable to
Oh,
be
yes.
sex offenders as men.
Oh yes.
However, the picture that if you say sex offender, what comes into somebody's mind?
Pervy looking man.
Totally.
Always a man.
Yep. Totally.
And
The guy that I'm picturing has a mustache, by the way.
Yeah.
scruffy face. But anyways,
Rollyn does
so-
not have any of those features, by the way.
how can you tell with the hood? But anyways, several of the men that I had encountered over those years of counseling had been abused sexually by their mothers, their aunts, their mothers and aunts' friends, women.
Hmm.
But it was looked at differently.
Wow.
They bragged about it to their friends
Mm-hmm.
because it was an older woman and they were still young. It was almost like a bragging right for them.
Mm-hmm.
Very interesting.
Anyway, we've digressed a little.
Yeah, a little bit, but I think it definitely has some validity in what we were just talking about.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we want to continue with, you were at your sentence, I guess, is where we were.
How long did
Yeah.
you actually serve? You said 3 to 9 years.
Almost all of it.
Okay.
I had a chance at parole after 3 years. Okay. Hence, 3 to 9 means your first opportunity to be back in society is 3
Mm-hmm.
years. And, so I went in front of the parole board after 3 years of incarceration and was denied parole.
Did you ever? You always pled not guilty
Not guilty.
to the porn charge, the child
No.
pornography.
Oh, no, I guess I didn't talk about that. With the with the charge itself, initially I pled not guilty.
Mm-hmm.
Initially it was one picture they were charging me with. And I said, well, I'm not guilty of that. So they don't stop. They got another picture. One picture carries a sentence of up to 4 years. So they got another picture. They said, well, we're going to charge you individually for each picture. And I asked my attorney, how many pictures are they talking about? And he said 9. 9 times 4 is 36. So this is how I'm thinking. This is the frame of mind that they force you into.
Right.
Now I'm looking at 36 years in prison. So what are you going to do?
So your attorney, who's buddy-buddy with the prosecutor,
Says,
cooks up a little deal.
I suggest you take the deal that they offer. I said, what's the deal? He said, well, they're going to offer you a sentence of 3 to 9 years. I'm like,
That's a deal?
That's a quarter of 36. So compared to what was going to happen.
Exactly. I mean, they force you into that mentality.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, well, if I don't take the deal, then you're looking at maybe 36 years.
Right.
What are you going to do? What would you do?
And with all your experience with politics thus far, knowing how corrupt it is, I mean, there's a huge chance that you could get a corrupt judge, he could be bribed, or a jury that could be bought, and there's no guarantee even if you try to fight for your innocence.
Absolutely. And the prison system is full of men that have been put in that same position to take a deal. Just about, I would say 98% of the prison system is guys that had to take a deal because they did not want.
Whether they
98%.
were guilty or not, they had to take some sort of deal, is what
Right.
you're saying.
It's unusual to have someone there that went full trial.
Hmm.
And if they went full trial and they're there, apparently they lost, right?
Right. And then they use the examples of guys like that. We got this guy and he's sitting
Right.
here for 36 years. Well, Rollyn, you could only be in jail for a maximum of 9. I mean, come on.
Yep. And I do know another guy from the same area that took it to trial against some kind of molestation charges, and he lost at trial and he wound up with 20 years. And that's why they do that. They make those the examples
Mm-hmm.
for everybody else. If you don't take a deal, this is what's going to happen to you.
It's brutal,
Yeah.
man.
It's brutal. It is a
You're
brutal
talking about
system.
someone's life. You're talking about life
Right.
that you're just wasting away in a cell. I bet you can enlighten us on that experience too.
I can. The inside. Yeah, the inside is a world of its own. I had been by this particular prison many times during my life and saw it, never thought much about what's going on the other side of that fence. Isn't that funny how we make those things oblivious?
Yep.
Mentally.
Totally.
Out of sight, out of mind.
Well, the day that they drove me up to take me on the other side of the fence, I can't even explain what that feels like.
Hmm.
And from that point on, when you go from your county jail to the state prison system, it's an entirely different world. It's everything you've seen in the movies, and it's a lot worse in many ways. You go through a reception center first, where...
Welcome to your hotel.
Yes, welcome. Where you're stripped down of everything. You're totally naked amongst everyone. You have to put this lice stuff all over your body where you have hair, a delicing
Right.
something or other.
Something that'll soak into your pores that's obviously not good for you, I'm sure.
Right. Your hair is shaved right down to your scalp. And you're given a number, ID card, fingerprinted. You're fingerprinted several times through the whole process. Given your clothing.
I have a question. Do they maintain that head shaven the entire time you're serving your sentence?
Only at reception.
Okay, then you can do whatever.
Right. While you're in the reception center, your hair has to be short.
So it's just like fresh fish.
Fresh fish.
Everybody knows. Oh, the guy with the shaved head.
Right.
Newbie.
Absolutely.
That sucks.
Yep.